Okay, perfect. Thanks again, Steve. Let's start with, how did you first meet Bob Stork?
I first met Bob Stork when I was working with a company in Melbourne, commuting from Fort Lauderdale, and they were doing some business with CI. So I met some of the people there, Henry Erfurt, and then I met Bob through that.
Okay. I'll have you just look at me when we ask the questions.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you that, and I apologize. Normally I do. In 2010, Bob made the decision, oh, that's a typo, to transition CI from a privately held company to an employee stock option plan. Can you tell me how that all came about and what were the steps that were involved?
Around 2009 and 10, I met with Bob, and Bob was thinking about selling his company because of certain possible health problems. And my background is a corporate and tax attorney, and after we discussed it and the type of business he was in, that it's a kind of a niche business, that it's hard to find somebody to come in and take over. But more importantly, we were able to discover that for his particular company, with the right financials that he had, he could sell it to what we call an ESOP, which is an employee stock option plan. Basically, that's where Bob would sell the company to the employees and then get paid over a period of time. The procedure is that there are very strict rules for it, but the concept is simple in that you have to have evaluation of the company by a third party. You appoint a trustee who represents the employees, and it's similar to having a 401k plan, which is owned solely by the employees. So the process takes several months, and through that we were able to make this transaction so the employees in 2010 became the owners. In the meantime, he took back a promissory note that got paid over the ensuing years. So that's how it started, and that's how the ESOP became into being.
Okay. What are the legal,
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't even realize.
I was seeing this cord was
Oh,
showing, so I don't know, you guys, what
Want to
do
do
you
that
want?
again?
Yeah.
that
Alright.
going?
okay.
Let me try this.
Sorry,
Something
I
in
just-
my bag to flip it.
He's got a bag of tricks over there.
He'll clip it so it doesn't keep falling out, because it was hidden before you started.
Okay, I'm sorry, I started moving
No,
around.
that's okay.
No, it's okay.
It happens.
That's what we're here
Okay.
for. Keep track
How's
of
that?
everything.
All right, so now I can do a little
Yeah,
bit better,
now you
maybe
can
be a
do
little
it.
more
I'll hold it.
succinct.
Sorry.
We'll start it again.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. In 2010, and just remember to look at me.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In 2010, Bob made the decision to transition CI from a privately held company to an employee stock option plan. What led to that decision, and what are some of the steps that were taken to make it so?
In 2009 and 10, Bob was considering the possibility of selling the company, but he wanted to ensure that there would be a place for the employees to continue to work and have the same kind of environment. My background as a corporate and tax attorney, we explored becoming an employee stock ownership plan owned company or ESOP owned company. And through that, that's how we became an ESOP.
Okay. You mentioned before about some of the legal requirements that are you have to have in place to
Yeah.
maintain an ESOP.
Well, and to become an ESOP, the concept is very simple in that you sell to the employees. Well, to ensure that that the price is fair and so forth, you have to have third parties come in and do independent evaluations. You need to appoint a trustee that represents the employees, and so there actually is like a negotiation to sell the company to the trustee for the benefit of the employees. How it actually works, it's almost like having a 401k plan for employees where the only asset is the stock of the company. So after the transaction, the 135 employees of CI became the shareholders of CI. So it's like a mini public company. They still had their 401k plans and everything else, but now they own the company since around 2010.
Okay. Tell me, what were some of the things that Bob considered as far as the employees go when he was coming to this decision?
When we came to the decision, what was very important to Bob was to be fair to everybody. And so there were a couple of transactions. One is before we even did it, we decided that when you have a employee stock ownership plan, there's a vesting period. He was very careful.
Let's hold on just a second.
I hear
It's the wind.
Oh,
the wind chime.
that's the wind chime. You want to go pull it down? I'm sorry.
I'm not tall enough.
I mean, it's not, it's just it's hooked there. Can you put it down, Brent?
I'm not sure I can reach it.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's not the
Maybe
end of the world. It's very, very
very
faint.
faint. It's
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be okay.
It was just a gust.
Yeah, it'll sound like it's part of the music.
Okay.
And Brent, if you get too close over here, you'll be in the chair next.
I forgot what the question was there.
Okay, we were talking about what are some of the things, the thought processes that Bob went through
Oh, for the employees.
regarding the employees and
When he decided to do the transaction, Bob wanted to be very fair to all the employees. There were a lot of people that were there a long time. So it was in a way a two-step process. The first process was people were there a long time. He gave them substantial bonuses before we did it. Afterwards, there was a vesting period of time for employees. So it was fair for all of the ones coming in. And part of it is in the negotiation for the sale. Bob did not negotiate for the highest price possible that he could have gotten with a third party. He was very, very concerned that the employees had the right to remain there, to be employed, and that the company would continue and be successful, which apparently it has because it's now 2019 and the company's doing very well.
so that was really good. Thank you. We talked briefly about the legal requirements for operating an ESOP, but I think maybe that was the clip that we decided to do over. So what are the legal requirements for operating an ESOP?
Well, the legal requirements are primarily by the Department of Labor and the Internal Revenue Service. One is the Department of Labor wants to make sure that this has been done for the benefit of employees. So they actually came in and audited it afterwards, and basically were very impressed that as a company, the company did not take away any benefits from the employees when they did this. The company still had a 401k as well as the ESOP and all the other health benefits. In addition, the Internal Revenue Service wants to make sure that the key high-paid employees don't take out a lot of money and try to use it really for their benefit rather than for the benefit of employees. To ensure that, Bob never participated in any of the ESOP per se. In other words, he was not a participant. So that avoided that problem, and all of the benefits went to the employees. And every year there's an audit of the financials, there's an audit of the trust for the employees, and we have to file a tax return for the company as well as for the employee stock ownership plan trust.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I could hear that.
I'm sorry, Brent,
That's
you gotta
okay.
be really super quiet back there.
My apologies.
Okay. We'll just go back over that last sentence you were saying. Darn it, about the internal revenue and him,
You want to just repeat that whole thing?
yeah, let's try it
Okay.
again.
Well, the two elements that comply with legal requirements are primarily Department of Labor and Internal Revenue Service. Department of Labor wants to ensure that you have done this for the benefit of employees, and they did an audit, and they were impressed that we kept the 401k plan as well as the ESOP and all the other health benefits. In addition, the Internal Revenue Service requires you to have audits of the employee stock ownership trust, and you need to file, your tax returns every year. In addition to that, the company does have audits, outside audits, for the company itself and for the trust.
What characteristics of Bob's personality do you think have contributed to his success?
Bob is a very unique person. I've been practicing for over 50 years, which is quite a long time. And Bob, I have not met anybody like Bob. What do I mean? Bob had genuine interest in all of the employees and their families. He treats it like his family. However, he's not paternalistic. He treats them as equals. He's an engineer by training. He loves doing that. He does not like administrative matters and has always had a president to work on that. So when he's working as an engineer with the engineering departments, he's just one of them. They go back and forth, they argue, whatever, and it's fine. That's how Bob operates. He wants you to say what you feel and be honest. And he is who he is like that. And he's a wonderful person and does a lot of things that people do not know about, and he doesn't care to publicize it. That isn't why he does it, whether it's an employee or a friend or something in the community.
Okay. What's the best part about working with Bob?
I think the best part is a lot of fun. Bob has a great sense of humor. And when you work with Bob, it's not boring. It's fun. He likes to make decisions. He's not one to dwell on things. He'll listen to everybody, and then he needs a decision, he'll make a decision. But I think that at the end of the day, it's the fact that Bob enjoys what he does, and it's fun to work with him on any of the projects you have. So it's just delightful to be with him.
Speaking of how much he enjoys doing what he does, do you think he'll ever retire?
Well, I think he has, during the past 10 years, the company has slowly transitioned and had the middle management move up to upper management and brought in some outside people who are knowledgeable in the industry. And he has stepped back from that. He was always a very good delegator, so he was not a micromanager. So right now, Bob is chairman of the board, and he's on the board, but the other people are actually running the day-to-day of the company. So slowly, yes, he will retire, but he will keep, if they need him, he's there.
Okay, what are some of your duties as a member of the board of directors?
Well, probably the most important duty we've had over the past several years is to make sure we have a good transition team involved to take over the management of the company and know that it's in good hands. When you have an organization that's been around for 30, 40 years, you want to leave it in better shape than even when you started. And so bringing in the right people has been very important. So yes, we're there to review financials and give opinions about different things, but the most important thing is to have good people come into the company. And I think we've done that over the past several years and elevated some of them to the board, and we have very good leadership in the company right now.
Okay, if we could go back to that, and then I'll ask you another question, but I want you to start with, I've been a member of the board of directors for however long.
Okay,
Because we
I'm
forgot
sorry.
to say that, right guys?
Okay, I've been a member of the board of directors since the inception of the employee stock ownership plan in 2010, so for approximately 10 years. And from that time, originally the board consisted of only 3 people, Bob, myself, and at that time the president of the company. Since that time, I think our most important duty was to be able to bring people into the management, to take over, to be able to make decisions on behalf of the company and elevate them. And since that time, we now have elevated several people to the board. They run the day-to-day operations of the company, and we're able to back off a little bit and just be there if we're needed. We do review financials, the normal things boards do. But in terms of running the day-to-day, unless there's a huge emergency, they're very capable of continuing to run the company.
Okay, very good. Successful entrepreneurs rarely give up. How has Bob demonstrated this trait? Perseverance.
The other thing that's kind of interesting with Bob is that he's a very competitive person. And I say it's interesting because he did not seem to have a great interest in sports. Probably, this might be a little quirky story of Bob's, but I was watching football one time, Florida State, and I saw this person with the name Stork on the back. And I said, Bob, is that somebody you know? He said, oh, that's my nephew, Ryan. And he was the center for Florida State when they won the national championship. Got drafted by New England and won the Super Bowl. But Bob never mentioned that, and he's not a big football fan or anything like that. However, when it comes to business and doing things, he is very competitive. If they don't win a job, they analyze it. Why did we not win it? Why didn't we do it? He sticks to it. He definitely is persistent.
Very good. That was good. Coming down to the end of it, The criteria for the Entrepreneur of the Year award is a business founder and/or leader who gives back to the community. Why do you think that Bob deserves the Entrepreneur of the Year award?
Since I've been involved with the company deeply since 2010, Bob has been very active in community and other affairs. I know that he's an active member of St. Helens Church. I know he does a tremendous amount of things for the church. He doesn't ask for any recognition on that. He has been very active in things like tax watch in the government to make sure the government doesn't do excess spending. He's been on some other government committees, and when he's on those committees, he works. He doesn't do it because he's going to meet people or do anything like that. He works very hard. He works very hard. He was selected as a trustee at Florida Polytechnic University in Lakeland, and he's done a great job there, but he works at it. If he's going to do something, he works at it. And I know that he does a lot of things, he and his wife do, in Indian River County for the community through various organizations, because I've been to several of those.
And they don't ever really ask for any accolades or anything.
No, neither Bob nor his wife Carmen are out there to get accolades. They're out there, if there's a need, they want to help people, period. It's like everybody, it's sort of like family. They go with their family, the company's their family, and the community's their family. That's how they treat everybody.
That was really good. Anything, guys?
I think you nailed it.
Monique?
Yeah.
Good?
Okay?
Would you like to add anything else, Steve?
I don't think
Those
so.
are the people that you did a very good job.
Okay,